had my son at 25, and within 2 weeks of my son being born, my dad basically dropped dead out of nowhere.
Good Lord.
And then I was fucking shattered, you know, being like a new dad, losing my dad, this and that, being in an extremely toxic relationship. Like my whole fucking world was a whirlwind, bro. All the stress of life and job and my brother, like my dad wasn't able to sleep. He like couldn't fucking sleep. He couldn't relax. And he went to a doctor and he got like some sleeping medication. And literally the first time he went home and took it, he never woke up. He died right there in his bed.
No freaking way.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? All right, another podcast here, chilling in my living room. We just worked out a little bit earlier ago, and I got Brad Dunn with Reliant Fitness here. We're about to drop some bombs, talk some knowledge about, you know, where he comes from, who he is, what he's done, and how he's gotten from, you know, turning wrenches, growing up, working on cars, a knuckle dragger, causing problems, you know, to being the famous mustache of Instagram that everybody knows with a beautiful mug, right? So stay tuned. This is a good one. Check it out. I've been on quite a few podcasts lately.
I usually do like one or two a month, but this is definitely, I think this is my first in-person one, which is cool.
Oh, really? They do a lot of Zoom ones?
Yeah.
Bro, they drive me crazy.
I know. It's different. It's way different. It's cool, but it's
This is your first in-person like podcast ever? Mm-hmm. Bro, right here on my channel. What's up with that? This motherfucker right here. So, but it's way like, I like engaging because I like talking to people. For sure. I flow so much better just talking to somebody in person.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I've had some good ones that we've done through Zoom or whatever, it's Riverside or whatever those platforms they use.
Yeah. No discredit to them.
It's not the same, you know.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, but those people are like, you know, out of state and trying to line stuff up, and I'm like, bro, like I run a business, I got 2 kids, like.
No, I would fly out to people, like, and if I had to, you know, no big deal, or do whatever. I mean, I like connecting too. It's part of it.
Totally, you know, and for the right person, you know, I'll make it work.
Absolutely,
you know
dude. I mean? That's legit. Yeah, I mean, like today we just got back from the gym, got a good workout in, kicked it. I like that. And the main thing, like with my podcast and stuff, like this, what I'm starting and doing, is I only want to have conversations with people that I want to have conversations with. But it makes the content easier instead of like you'll see people like try to clout chase or go get a bunch of people on their channel. Like the reality is like it's much easier when it's aligned in general. Like we get on a normal level, zero camera, right?
Right. No, that's just it, man. Is like in your element per se, you know. And sometimes it's hard to get that when you're just like sitting behind a laptop, you know, or someone asks you to do like an Instagram live. I'm like, what?
It's good for like a really short deal, I guess. If you're promoting something, right?
Yeah, but Instagram live, like you're basically hosting like a hour and a half long Q&A on Instagram live. I'm like, come on, bro.
No way.
Like, let's put this in some sort of
bigger format.
Studio per se, but
okay, good stuff. Let's start with that. So, what are some questions people typically ask you on those lives that you would rather go into further on a deal like this on a podcast?
Oof. That's a good question. I don't even necessarily remember any of the questions, but it's more so about like everybody wants to know like the mindset or like what was the big shift? You know, where along the lines did you realize that you needed to go like all in, balls to the wall and this shit? And, you know, the answer is, you know, in all honesty, very simple. Is like the way I was living and who I was at the time was not going to amount to the life that I wanted. You know, so I had to change who I was. I had to change everything about me per se, you know, my habits, my lifestyle, the things that I seek, the company I keep, you know, I had to change it all because where I wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and that was like the kicker. And people are like, well, you know, like, was it hard? I'm like, yeah, it's fucking hard. Like growth is hard. You know, growth is lonely for the most part. Like we were talking about last night, dude, you almost have to isolate for a period of time so you can just focus 100% on your goals and your dreams and what you're going to do in order to make it happen.
No, I think you 100% do.
But that's where a lot of people cave and give in because they can't stand the silence. They can't stand being alone with themselves and where they're at in that level of discomfort and like almost social isolation. So they run back to it. They run back to the bar. They run back to the drinking. They run back to the drugs because they find that comfort in that company that is basically holding them back and holding them down.
For sure. Well, it's lonely. I mean, it's lonely at first, especially it's because, you know, you're surrounded by those people they're not doing those things. So when you go and change, when you go and adjust something like that, you're questioning the position of life that they're in. You're like, all of a sudden, you're too good for us now. All of a sudden, you want to change this now.
Exactly.
And even though they would tell you blunt to your face, like, bro, I would die for you. You're my best bro. Like all these things, right? Like over a 4 a.m. drinking session. Like,
Yep.
It's the same when you go and try to do something better, or you're like, I'm going to go do this. They have a hard time with it. People have a hard time with it.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Like people, that level of competition, like people just get, extremely intimidated. Like, oh yeah, you can do good, but just don't do better than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
for sure.
It's irritating, man, because people need to experience that level of growth, and they need to see who's really in their corner and who's not. There's been so many times where people do just that. They start to work on themselves, they start to do good, and then everything they know and everything that they're used to is in those toxic relationships. And they're so afraid to go without it, even though they know it's probably not good for them, and they run right back to it. And then every bit of work that they did, all the time they invested, whatever steps forward they took, they just throw it all away.
Did you experience that?
No. Well, I experienced the isolation, but I didn't run back to nobody, because I kind of was in a fortunate enough spot where I'd pretty much already isolated myself to a degree. Like I moved away from Orange County. Like I kind of, stiff-armed a lot of the things I used to do and the people I used to run with in that sense, because I basically severed my ties and moved away because I knew I needed to kind of get away.
That was because you wanted to be on the fire department first, right?
No. I moved away for a couple different reasons initially, but the fire thing came with it. Like that came after I had already been there for a period of time. But basically I just, it's all weird how it worked out, right? Because I was still, running around doing the same stuff, like partying, drinking, doing some drugs here and there, getting in trouble, getting thrown in jail for fighting and bullshit. But it's like those people, and I'm not going to place the blame. Like we're all guilty, It's not like, it's your fault because I was with you.
No.
I was a fucking knucklehead at that point in time, no matter who I was around. You know what I mean? But when those people started, they started moving away, or they started, almost like putting themselves in a situation too where they were like isolated, whether it was work related or just moving or family stuff, then it really forced me to kind of just stick to my own. And I was only focused on going to the gym and starting my own business and trying to, become better, and initially my entire goal was to just be the best fireman that I could, you know what I mean? Because I wanted to be in shape. I wanted to be mentally and physically strong. I wanted to be like the most reliable person on the engine. And that's where Reliant Fitness came from. I wanted to be an asset, not a liability. And all these kids that were showing up to work hungover or out of shape, they were all liabilities. I wanted to be the guy that my captain or my engineer could rely on and give me any assignment or any task and know that I'm going to fucking crush it, And that's where that all stemmed from. And basically that level of isolation helped me become that person because I separated from everything. I was like, alcohol doesn't serve me. These drugs don't serve me. These friendships don't serve me because they're not really friendships. It was just all just that having a weird spiritual awakening and real having an epiphany. None of this shit is gonna help me anymore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately I kind of had that and got to experience that. I know it's difficult for other people that don't always get to pull away or have that kind of isolation because they're stuck in the hot shit mess all the time.
The people they work with, their family members, their friend circle, things like that.
Yeah. And fortunately, I had a good group of guys, great group of guys that I worked with the fire department that for a long time pushed me to be better and pushed me to excel, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to be that dialed firefighter, to be, promote and be that dialed engineer, be that guy, and then I just started looking past that because I kind of saw the bigger picture. These guys are still, they're working for a department that treats them like shit. It's still kind of a toxic, negative environment because you've got people that really care about the job and then you got people that don't give a fuck. They don't reward excellence and they don't condemn complacency. So it's a lot of people get to a position and they just stay there. They're stagnant.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started looking beyond and finding other ways to push that energy and that drive into other avenues is where shit really expanded for me,
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, man. Well, let's rewind a little bit and tell us like more about your growing up, your upbringing. You know,
Yeah.
little Brad in the Dunn house. You know, I would like to know more about what your upbringing was like, man.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, I grew up in South Orange County, you know, nice neighborhood, nice house. Dad owned his own construction landscape business. My mom was basically a stay-at-home mom until, you know, I was in my, you know, early teens per se. And then she got back into real estate. She did real estate for a long time.
You guys an agent?
Yeah. So basically my mom's whole side of the family is in real estate.
Gotcha.
And then, you know, played sports the whole nine, good family, little brother.
What kind of sports do you play?
My first sport ever was roller hockey.
Yeah?
So I started with contact sports.
Yeah, roller hockey's legit though. With the ball and just,
Dude, so much fun. Much fun. Soccer, you know, basketball, football. Football was like this first sport that I really like latched onto, like played for an extended period.
Were you a bigger guy
No.
playing football? Cause
dude, I was a small kid. I was a small kid.
Here.
Like I was like generally the smallest kid on the team.
That's wild.
You know, and like, but I played middle linebacker, played fullback. Like I carried myself like I was the biggest kid out there. You know,
Chip on your shoulder.
Oh, dude, the biggest fucking chip, bro. But
well, you're Irish, right? Are you Irish background?
I just want to play. Yeah, I'm all the feisty shit, dude.
Yeah,
I'm like basically 50% Irish, 50% Scottish. You know, so like fucking roughneck is like our bloodline.
That's legit.
And yeah, dude, sports were a huge part of my life.
Were you good at school, like academics? Or
yeah, I was.
Were you?
I was good. I did well. I mean, I wasn't like a fucking 4.0 student, but I was pulling good grades, and I wasn't even really like applying myself. So
it came easy.
It came easy.
Damn, that's good.
I figured out early if I just show up and do all of my homework, I'll at least get like an 80%.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Damn.
And like that's
we're talking like high school?
Yeah.
Wow.
Middle school, high school. Like I graduated high school with like I think a 3.1 GPA.
Yeah.
And basically just coasted
cruising
through it. Coasted.
Yeah. So your academics came a little easy.
Yeah, they came pretty easy.
What was your thought? Like, I know we're moving a little quick, but like, what was your thought after high school? Like, were you like, I'm going to college? Or where were you at in life?
I knew I didn't want to go to a university like early on. And the part of me that wanted to go to a university wanted to go for all the wrong reasons. Like,
party is the chicks.
Exactly.
Booze,
exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be an expensive fun time.
I kind of like, I wanted to initially as a younger kid, I wanted to go on scholarship and play ball and fucking get that whole run of the mill experience. And then as I got older, I just kind of realized that wasn't really going to happen for me because I was, you know, in a sense of the term, I was a runt, dude. Like I was small all the way through high school. Do you know what
you graduated high school? Like what weight?
Oh, yeah, dude. I was like 5'5", 110 pounds, like soaking wet.
Oh, dude, you were real small.
I was little.
Because I thought I was small. I graduated like 145. I don't even know what my height was, but I went to the Marine Corps at like 145.
Yeah, I was small. I was not a big kid at all.
110? Yeah. Senior year?
Dude, I was wrestling my freshman year at 103s.
I wrestled at 94.
And I remember I would stand on the scale at weigh-ins with the fucking foot long in my hand, and I would still be like right under 103.
That's the lightest weight.
Yeah. And, you know, I didn't really gain a lot of weight in high school. Like I didn't like have one of those like awkward puberty stages where kids like put on like 20 or 30 pounds. Like I stayed small and I stayed pretty lean. But then like after high school, like in my senior year and stuff, going to the gym started being like a regular deal and like actually training, and then like started taking like supplements and stuff like that. But like the summer after graduation, I literally hit like a massive growth spurt. I put on probably like 50 pounds and I grew like 5 inches.
Wow.
So I went from like, you know, 5'5" to like 5'10", in like from like basically, let's just call it like $120 to like $170.
Golly.
You know? So like I started showing up to all these parties and outings and stuff, and kids are like, "What the fuck?
Who is this?"
Like what happened to you?" Like started putting on some muscle, started putting on some size because I was training a lot. I was taking a lot of supplements, you know, like nothing crazy, like everything that you can go buy at fucking GNC.
Okay, so
you know,
just
like,
over the counter stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't dabbling with any of that heavy shit yet. Yeah. I got into that later, but but I kind of just realized, you know, that idea of playing college ball on a scholarship wasn't really going to happen for me, you know, because I wasn't like a D1 athlete. I wasn't like some absolute athletic specimen. Like I was fucking talented, but I didn't have the size and everything to back it up.
Yeah, some people got the genetics.
Yeah.
And the talent.
Yeah. And I was lacking the other half.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to just go to community college and keep working and just kind of do my thing. And, you know, was thinking like, you know, I'll do 2 years at community college. And then our initial idea for me and a couple of my friends was, you know, transfer to like, you know, SDSU or one of these bigger colleges down and around here and do like our last 2 years there and rent a house and that whole bit.
And you're like, what, 18, 19 years old?
Yeah, I was like 18.
Did you have much tattoos at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I started getting tattooed when I was 17. So by the time I was like 18, 19, I was already like half sleeved. I was like, my whole sleeve on this arm was like outlined. You know, I still had like a big head. So like I looked like trouble to like most people my age.
That's hilarious, bro.
You know, and not to mention like I was like just fucking violent. You know, like that was just my mindset. Like, you know, like just playing contact sports my whole life. Like if anybody said or looked or did anything, was like, it was like we're going straight to blows. You know, this is how we always solve problems on the field. Yeah. This is how I'm solving problems in life. Like, you know?
That gets you somewhere real quick. You know? We just don't know where.
Yeah, you know, and started going to junior college and just doing the general ed bullshit. And oddly enough, got to go to a university for like a year. Basically transferred to Concordia University Irvine, which is a private Christian college.
Legit.
And was basically roped in on lacrosse opportunity, but it was like at that time lacrosse was basically like an intramural club sport. It wasn't like a school sanctioned sport. Okay. But they were building up a program, and I had transitioned from football to lacrosse like in middle school and fell in love because it was like super high speed. It was like new to the West Coast. You know, it was very aggressive, you know, in nature. It was very similar to hockey. So I'm like, fuck yeah, this is legit, you know. Yeah. Like played, you know, middle school, high school, and then ended up playing in college. Dude, I stood out like a fucking sore thumb in that school. Same thing.
School,
tattooed,
bald head, tattooed,
big head, fucking driving around in a fucking big ass pickup truck.
Bro, we have so much in common with that. That's hilarious. I got in trouble at 17 years old, right? And before I joined the Marine Corps, my parents, the only college they would pay for was a private Christian school. So I went to Oklahoma Christian University for one semester, joined the Marine Corps, and fucking bounced. And I had a shaved head. I had my first tattoo at 17, and I had a full sleeve by 19. It was like, it's funny how that works out. So we have so much in common. That's so you go the full ride, full through there for college? No, too much partying?
Fuck no, not really. I mean, don't get me wrong. I partied, but I like didn't party at that school. Like that school was like fucking lame compared to like all the dudes that I was running with. Like it was like straight nerds. Yeah. And like,
or they give you a scholarship?
No, they didn't.
So you're paying for this?
So basically I paid, you know, I did like one semester and I played preseason. And then I basically enrolled and played the full season with the idea that the following years I was going to get scholarship. And that was basically kind of the agreement, the loose agreement. Yeah. And so then like that next year rolled around and they basically said like, we don't have the funds to give you for scholarship because I mean, the rumor was that they roped in some players from the East Coast or from Canada to furthermore build up the program. Yeah. I basically got shafted and I was like, well, I don't have the money to go here without scholarship. Like this is a fucking private Christian college. I don't have that.
Going back to that, so did you grow up like middle class, lower middle class, upper middle class?
I'd say upper middle class. Like we were doing, I mean, granted, I'll never know because my dad was very frugal, you know, like he wasn't flashy, you know. I think we did well. Like we lived in a nice house, we lived in a nice neighborhood, you know, we did the typical, you know, 2 nice vacations a year, you know, we had decent vehicles, like we weren't hurting by any means. Right. You know, but as life went on and in that right around that same pivotal stage, like my parents split up right around the time I graduated high school. Okay. You know, and there was a lot of turmoil with the business because my mom and my dad's partner and this and that. Sure. So long story short, my dad basically lost everything. You know, he lost his marriage, lost his fucking business. Yeah. You know, basically had to start the fuck over at 50 years old after being established and comfortable for a long period of time. And, you know, I'm going through all this stuff as a 19-year-old, you know, and the divorce stuff is like, whatever. Like, yeah, it impacted me, but I'm not going to sit there and be like, it fucking ruined my life.
For sure.
You know, but it was like.
But the financial, seeing your parents go through financial stress and stuff.
Yeah,
stressful.
the financial stress was there. And like, at that point, like the money wasn't really there, you know, like it wasn't like I had like a big thing to fall back on or nothing, or like I was going to take over dad's business. Like I had no desire. Like his business was never any interest to me. And so I dropped out of school when I found out that I wasn't going to be able to afford to go there or have scholarship, and started working. My first job when I dropped out was actually, I worked at fucking Petco. Because that was like the only job I can get like right away. And it was like this fucking worst job ever.
What are you doing at Petco? Like,
dude,
you just
cleaning
checking
hamster
out?
cages, bro.
Oh, no shit. So you're doing the back end stuff.
Cleaning hamster cages and like unloading trucks of dog food. Like, because that's what they saw. They saw me come in. They're like, you're a big guy. You can lift all the heavy shit.
Let's give it to the pissed off Irish guy.
You know, so I'm like unloading trucks at like fucking 4:35 in the morning, cleaning out hamster cages, like doing that whole nice shit. Oh, dude. Super humbling. But fortunately, I really wanted to like be a mechanic, because I did like auto tech and all that stuff in high school, and I fucking loved it. Like our auto tech program was badass. We had a sick ass teacher, and we always, you know, fiddled with our fucking dirt bikes and our cars and our trucks when we were younger. And I'm like, dude, I want to be a fucking mechanic. Like, you know, the last time I took my truck to the dealership, those motherfuckers raped me. Like, not only do I want to make some money doing it, but I want to be able to save some goddamn money and be able to do it myself. So fortunately, the girl I was dating at the time, like her best friend, basically her like second dad, owned an auto shop in Lake Forest. And I basically went to him and was like, hey, like, I really want to work here. I want to learn. What is it going to take? What do I have to do? And he basically kind of put me on some sort of like apprenticeship program. Yeah. Working for free almost. Yeah, dude. So I basically was like showing up there, you know, 3 or 4 days a week initially, because his whole thing was like, well, I can't tell the other guys that I'm paying you, because they're going to be like, well, we need more money if you can afford to bring in this dumbass kid. Yeah. So he basically said that I was on like some internship program through the local community college.
Okay.
You know, that's what he basically painted the picture as. So I was there a couple days a week, you know, working all day, like 8 to 5, 7 to 5, whatever. You know, he basically told me, you know, you either have it or you don't. You know, like it's something that's kind of comes natural at some degree.
Right.
You know, your attention to detail, you know, being able to be a self-starter and figure things out. So we'll see. Well, 6 months, and we'll see how it goes. And 6 months turned into 6 years in a full-time job.
Wow.
You know,
so you were a mechanic for 6 years. Mm-hmm. And did you just move your way up, or is there
I just gradually started taking on more responsibility and trying to push. Because, dude, I worked in a shop and I was around, you know, grown-ass men who had been working on cars longer than I've been alive. Like, I was a fucking kid. I was 20 years old, 21 years old.
Yeah.
You know, covered in tattoos with the drinking habit and smoking habit, and thought I was the coolest fucking shit. You know? And then
what car were you driving at the time?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, so when I first started working there, I was driving like a Dodge Dakota. So like the old quad cab Dodge Dakota.
Nice.
And then I couldn't afford the gas on it anymore because it was like the big
ass. Is it the 5.9?
It was the 5.9.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Too big of an engine for small of a truck. Bro.
Yeah. And I sold that and I got like a Volkswagen GTI.
Got it.
And I loved the GTI because it was super fun, and like it was a little 1.8 turbo. And I did like a couple.
You modded it out.
I modded it out a little bit. Put it on some Eibach lowering springs. Did like a diverter valve. You know, full turbo back exhaust.
Nice.
A few little things that weren't too expensive at the time that made it, you know, kick and scream and push harder than most things its size.
Then it should.
You know, it would eat up the normal Honda Civic that tried to pull up and take me.
That was the day.
But
I remember those days.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was a fun car, dude. And I worked at a European shop, so I wanted to like learn more about the European stuff.
Oh, okay. What kind of cars did you guys work on?
So our specialty was like Porsche, Audi, BMW, Mercedes.
Oh, you worked on some nicer shit.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the perks of the job.
German
getting to drive some really nice cars at a really young age.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun, man. Learned a ton from the job and a lot about life and, you know, a level of financial responsibility because I was basically getting paid fucking dirt. You know,
for sure. So you're scraping by.
Yeah, paid under the table, you know, and was probably, you know, even when I left, like after I had been there for 6 years, I think I was making like $450 a week, turning wrenches on $100,000 cars all day.
Yeah. What year is this approximately?
So this was basically, I want to say like 2009 to 2015.
What year did you graduate high school?
07.
Okay. 2009, 2015. Okay. So how old are you at this point?
So so maybe a little bit later, but I think I started there when I was 20 and I left 26. Right when I was 26.
Okay.
So
through that last year, are you learning firefighting? What are you doing now? Because I know you got out of it and you moved on.
Well, basically what happened is like fast forward to that last little stretch, right? So I had my son at 25, and within 2 weeks of my son being born, my dad basically dropped dead out of nowhere.
Good Lord.
And then I was fucking shattered, being like a new dad, losing my dad, this and that, being in an extremely toxic relationship. Like my whole fucking world was a whirlwind, bro. And I basically got offered a job with that pipeline company because a couple of my buddies were already working there and they were looking for guys and this and that. And I'm like, I kind of got the details about it, and I would basically overnight just by showing up and saying yes would be almost doubling my wage and having benefits. And I'm like, I talked to a couple of the guys that I was wrenching with. I'm like, yo, bro, like I kind of got this chance. Like, should I do it? And they're like, bro, fucking go do it. Like, this shop is not going anywhere.
You can get your job back anytime.
Like, motherfuckers, like, mechanics come here to die. Like, literally, like, fucking go do your thing, and if it doesn't work out, come back.
You can still get a job there next year now, probably.
Dude, straight up. I could walk right back in there right now and Mike would fucking hire me.
I want to rewind, though, touch on something. So what happened to Dad? Like, you want to dive into a little bit more of that?
Sure. So it was like kind of a long road, fucking with him, like rebuilding himself after the divorce and losing his business and basically having to start from the ground up again. So a lot of stress, a lot of fucking,
heartache,
like having, basically having everything, doing everything right, and then still getting absolutely fucked.
Oh, man.
And that was hard for me to see, being a young man. I'm like, fucking play by the rules your whole life and still get fucking reeled. Like, yeah, I ain't doing that. So we had finally kind of got to a point where we were, on solid ground. My dad was like working locally again because for a while he was like basically commuting out to the desert Monday through Friday to work for this other company. And I was like holding down the household, like for me and my brother.
So you're living at home?
Yeah. Moved. We were living in Anaheim at the time. I was still working as a mechanic. Well, I wasn't living in Anaheim. I had moved out a couple months before, but had my son. Things were good. My brother, though, was a fucking nightmare. Like
younger?
Yeah, younger brother. I got like a brother who's roughly 4 years younger than me. And he was like on a rampant, problem with alcohol and drugs and this and that. And it was taking a toll on all of us, to the point where when I was still living at my dad's house, like I was getting up to go to work in the morning and get showered and getting out, and my brother was like locked in the bathroom, passed out on the floor. And I'm like
more than one time.
Yeah. And I'm like beating down the door for him to like wake up. Like, bro, get the fuck up. Like,
you gotta get ready for work.
I gotta get ready for work. And then I finally get the door open. He's like, dude, it's fucking Sunday. I'm like, it's Wednesday morning. You fucking idiot.
Oh, damn.
And I finally just was so sick of it. And I basically told my dad, like, yo, it's fucking me or him. Like, are you going to coddle this or are you going to fucking let me stay here? Because I can't do this. Like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, I got a kid on the way that's about to be born, like, any day now, like, I'm out. So I moved out and got an apartment, and that was going well. But I think just between all the stress of life and job and my brother, like, my dad wasn't able to sleep. He like couldn't fucking sleep. He couldn't relax. And he went to a doctor and he got like some sleeping medication. And literally the first time he went home and took it, he never woke up. He died right there in his bed.
No freaking way.
Yeah. So
did you guys do an autopsy and stuff?
Yeah. So we did an autopsy, and basically what they labeled the autopsy was an acute overdose, and which sounds completely asinine.
Yeah, it sounds like overdose, like too many pills, right?
Yeah, but it's like acute overdose, which is like small. It shouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? And because the fact that they labeled the autopsy an overdose, I couldn't like go and sue for malpractice.
So like, he only had one. He didn't even take.
Yeah, from what I recall, like it's not like he took an outrageous amount. Like it's not like he downed the whole thing. Yeah. But he had like some other issues, like he had like sleep apnea and some of that stuff. And it said like when I looked up that medication, it basically said blatantly like, don't take this if you have like sleep apnea or this or asthma or whatever. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
did they not check for any of this stuff? Jesus.
Well, that's what I was going to basically try to pull. And then, when I contacted a lawyer about, malpractice and suing for this, because it wasn't like a fucking money grab. Like nothing was going to bring my dad back. But It's like, I don't want this person to be able to do that to somebody else.
How old is your dad at this point? Young?
57.
Oh man, he's young.
Yeah.
Really young.
Yeah. I was 25. My brother was 21, 22.
Just like that was it. It was one day. I'm gonna take the pills. And I'm gonna try to pass out tonight.
Yep.
And he's like, let you know.
No, I didn't even know. Like, I knew what was going on, but I was at my place doing my thing. We had just had, he had just come over 2 nights prior for dinner and stuff, and then I got a call at 10:30 on a fucking Wednesday or Thursday from my brother, screaming, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, Dad's dead. And I'm like, did you call 911? What's
coming
going
over?
on?
What's the deal?
And he's like, yeah, they're here. And I'm like, put me on the phone with him. And sure as shit, he was gone. It was by the time all that basically came to play, it was too late to do anything.
Yeah, yeah.
So
he probably been, sleeping all night.
Well, yeah, I think just from probably the time he got home from work. So let's just put the timeline at maybe 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
So who knows? There's nothing you can really do at that point anyway. So
were you're in the pipeline right now? You're out working?
No, I was still turning wrenches at that point. So basically I transitioned to pipeline kind of after all that.
Boom, all
this
hits.
I don't know. I needed a fresh start per se. Yeah. And I saw that as an opportunity to do it, but it was good and it was bad, because I was, it took me away from a lot of the things that I was used to. So it took my mind off of it. And then, I was making good money, so that kind of supplemented some of the issues I was going through as far as financially. But it was hard because I was a new dad. I was in a shitty relationship, so obviously being away from each other didn't help anything.
No.
It was already rocky, even when we were not rocking, and then you add traveling, twice a week to 4, 5, 6 hours away, it doesn't make
the new baby better. Yeah, that doesn't make it easy at all.
But yeah, so basically, me and that chick, I just called it off because it was too much. It was too toxic. She started doing stuff that was gonna get me in some big fucking trouble, and I was like, I'm not going down for you. You ain't worth it.
Yeah, no.
So I got out of there, and for a while I was renting a room, at my buddy's pad in Dana Point, trying to hang out and be around with my son as much as possible. And same thing, she just was making it impossible to have any sort of regular relationship with my son. So I'm like, dude, if you're gonna fucking make it super hard for me to see my son, and me being close enough to you to where you can have the cops called on me and arrested for something that didn't even happen, I need to get the fuck out of here. And basically, I met my chick that I'm with now, my fiance, when I was working on that pipeline job up in Atascadero. And I don't know, just something with her, it just seemed super genuine and super real, almost like a level of divine intervention,
Yeah.
So I fucking and even when the job was over, we were okay, well, what do we because we kind of started dating and stuff while I was up there on a regular basis. I'm when the job was coming to an end, I'm so what are we doing with this? I've never been in a long distance relationship at this point. I didn't know what the fuck that involved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm are we going to keep doing this, or is this
just over?
Just some sort of fling because I was in town?
Yeah.
And we basically both agreed that, the feelings are serious, we're both in it, let's make it work as best as we can. So basically at that point, still working pipeline, I was going up there once a month, or she was coming down once a month. So we were seeing each other on a semi-regular basis. And then when basically the opportunity presented itself to just move up there, I was yeah, I'm fucking out. Orange County has nothing left for me, dude. I've either burned every fucking bridge or someone's out to get me, and I need to get the fuck out of here. So
how was that with your son being here still down in Orange County?
It was tough, dude. But I did what I had to do in order to make it work. Basically, when I first moved up there, I was coming back to Orange County every weekend.
Wow.
To see him. And
that was your visiting rights. That was you call.
Well, we didn't even have anything. We didn't even have anything situated. I just did it just cause.
Did she let you and didn't have any balk with it?
Not terribly, no. And I was just staying at my mom's because my mom still lived in Orange County.
Gotcha.
So I would crash there with my kid and, basically hang out, roll into town late Friday after I got off work. grab my kid, early Saturday, have, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, drop them off, roll back home, fucking rinse, lather, repeat for years. And then basically once I had started pursuing fire, like I was like, I can't do this every weekend thing because it's fucking killing me financially.
Yeah.
Like the fuel and everything along with it was like, it was a lot. But I made it work for the time being. And then, fast forward, was still kind of working some pipeline gig when I got up there.
What made you pursue fire at that point? Because I would assume, was the pipeline gig was it a cut and pay going to be a firefighter from the
basically,
pipeline? I thought so.
Basically, like, but I was thinking more long-term, like longevity,
health insurance,
and obviously
all these great things that can
the joy and the passion of the job. Cause I'm like, that whole career just seems like fucking cool.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you get to like be, physically fit to a degree. Obviously the people that take it seriously, you get like a level of camaraderie, you get to go do some rad stuff. So like, I don't know. I wanted something that was like more fulfilling. Like I liked working on cars. I loved working on cars. But it was like the people that I was usually around working on cars were fucking either salty fucks or hacks. And I was like,
100%.
And I'm like, dude, this is not an environment I want to be in. You know
lot
what
of
I mean?
times. Yeah.
So, I started paying attention to like all that stuff. And I'm like, well, fuck, dude. Like I want to go get my EMT. I want to go to Fire Academy. I want to take a swing at this. And I just went and did it. I kind of wrote out like a 6-month plan for myself. Like I'm going to go do this expedited EMT course. Like, so I did like a 14-day EMT program out in Arizona, came back, applied for an academy that's actually was down here in San Diego. So got into that academy, basically, pulled out of the mechanic shop and came down here and crushed the academy, went back to San Luis Obispo and started applying and testing like everywhere. And fortunately, in San Luis Obispo County, they have kind of like some like reserve volunteer style programs. So they have like what's called paid call firefighter. Okay. So basically what you can do, or what they evolved the program into, is you can go like be at the station and work on the apparatus and be on the engine and run calls, but you're only paid by the call.
So you're sitting there waiting for 4 hours. You're not getting paid. But once the call goes, you jump on the rig.
They had some weird pay scale that went along.
I mean, it makes sense for them to be able to afford to bring more people on, and firefighters are a dime a dozen at the beginning when you're young, trying to get on. So
yeah, but it was a good way to get in with the guys locally and get to know the job and get some experience and kind of just concrete the idea of like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there's been some kids like fucking went through academy, and as soon as they stepped into like a burn box or something that was hot or basically dangerous, they're like, fuck this, I'm out. Yeah. Like that's where you kind of find out what you're made of in a sense. I loved it. Like I loved all of it. And the process alone helped me become just a better person because I had to sever those ties with everything that I was doing prior. Like, drinking, doing drugs, hanging out with the wrong people, fucking, just being a goddamn hooligan.
Yeah, and being a part of that paramilitary organization that is the fire department wherever you are requires you to level up a bit.
Yeah, so it forced me to level up, and I'll always be grateful for that. But
do you have any advice for somebody that may be looking to get on the fire department now?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I get it all the time online. I'm like, the two biggest things that I can tell anybody is get in shape and get involved locally. Like that's the two biggest things that you can basically do for yourself is. So, and I've heard this, and don't get me wrong, I'm not some salty fucking seasoned goddamn firefighter, like, but it's like you're gonna show up in a lot of different ways. You're gonna show up young, you're gonna show up dumb, you're gonna show up inexperienced, but do not show up out of shape. Do not show up out of shape.
That goes for a lot of things.
It goes for a lot of things, but like for firefighting, like you get a lot of slack when you're getting started, but don't slack there. Gotcha. And then get involved locally. So whether it's a volunteer aspect or like a paid call or some sort of reserve aspect, get involved locally to see if one, you jive with the guys that you're like in your jurisdiction, or if you're even cut for it, and if you really like want to do it. Because what people perceive as like what firefighters do on a regular basis and what firefighters actually do on a regular basis is very different. you're not constantly out there. And don't get me wrong, this is probably some departments, but most departments are not running fires 24 hours a day.
No.
You know,
there's something wrong in society if that's the fact, dude.
Yeah. Well, God bless the ghetto, dude.
Yeah,
That's why all the hard-nosed firefighters go work in the ghetto, because the ghetto burns.
They can do more fun stuff.
It's a lot of other stuff like medical aid, traffic accidents, you know, tending to equipment, station duties. There's a lot of, you know, quote unquote bullshit that goes into the job that a lot of people don't realize. You know, it's not all hero shit, but it's like when that time comes, it's super fun. But yeah, get involved locally to see what you can do and get in shape.
Got it. Love it. Back on track, back on you. So you're going through EMT basic, you're going through school, you're putting yourself through these schools while you're doing the pipeline?
No.
So you quit your job.
I hung it all up. Fortunately, I've always been pretty good at saving. So I had like a little nest egg saved up, and I realized that's why I gave myself that like 6-month timeline, so to speak. I'm like, if I fucking hard charge all this stuff and basically get this training and these certifications in this 6-month period, you know, then I can come back and start making money again and be able to at least survive.
Gotcha. And yeah, because you're living on a nest egg for a temporary period.
Yeah, I'm living strictly off savings. I had no money coming in.
Gotcha. So you're banking on making it here to get the money.
Had to, no choice.
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
But yeah, and that was basically it. And I got lucky, you know. Well, I mean, I worked my ass off, but I got lucky too. Right. I came back and started immediately, you know, funneling into those programs and trying to really excel in those programs. And I did. You know, I had a chip on my shoulder. Like, I wanted to fucking make a name for myself. I wanted people to know who the fuck I was and what I was there to do, and that I was serious. You know, I wasn't some fucking snot-nosed 18, 19-year-old kid fresh out of high school that didn't know what he wanted to do with his life, and his dad was a fireman, so he just became a fireman. Like, you know, I'd been through the ringer, and I fucking saw something that I wanted, and I was going to make it happen. And got in and started working and loved it and enjoyed every bit of it.
How long were you a firefighter?
I'd say all in all, about 3.5, 4 years. If I total up like basically volunteer, reserve time, and then like seasonal time with CAL FIRE, yeah, I'd say about 4 years in total. Loved it.
Nice.
Absolutely love it. Highly recommend it to anybody that is considering getting into it.
And throughout that whole time, I'm assuming you mentioned a minute ago, everybody should go out and get in shape in the first place. So you're probably, when did you start working out? Let's dive into that. Like, what does your personal workout journey start?
I started really working out like when I was 17. Like, that was like lifting weights, but like working out with the intention to be physically conditioned and strong started probably before I went to Fire Academy. Because don't get me wrong, like, I had always lifted weights and enjoyed going to the gym, but the conditioning factor, like running and doing circuit training and like high intensity style training, was something that I never really participated in.
Yeah.
So like I started running. I started doing circuit work. I started doing a bunch of body weight calisthenic style stuff to like prep for Academy, because that's what Academy is grueling, dude. Like, that's what it is. It's like a physical gauntlet. You know, you get your shit kicked for half the day, and then you're in the class the other half of the day, like in the books, you know? So I was like, well, the books things, whatever, you know, I'll get through that just off of pure will. And luckily fucking the last bit of common sense I have. But you know, the physical aspect, like, I want to really excel in that area. Yeah. You know, so running, lifting, circuit work, all that stuff. But when I really started turning it on was when I got in with CAL FIRE, like on a more semi-permanent basis. Like, I was a seasonal firefighter. I still had a lot to prove. You know, I was looked at, even though I was like brand new, I was looked at as like kind of a senior guy because I was a little older. You know, I'd been around in a sense, like I had kind of like graduated from the PCF or the reserve program into a more full-time position rather than just some kid that got pushed in. Yeah. You know, so in a sense, I'd earned my stripes in comparison to a lot of people that didn't, you know? So all the older guys, the captains, the engineers, they all knew who I was before I even was in there. So I had like a different level of expectation to kind of live up to. Sure. So then I just was buttoning down like the physical fitness aspect. Like I was always a hard charger when it came to the work, but I was like, I was never the guy that looked like he was in the gym 5 days a week. Really? Because, well, dude, I trained. I mean, I was thick. Like, I was a big dude in a sense, but I was like, I didn't look like an athlete.
Why do you think that was? What is it?
Eating habits, dude.
Oh, really?
I ate like a fucking fat kid.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I was the typical dude that would like go train as hard as possible and then eat whatever the hell I wanted.
Gotcha.
You know, and when you get to be like 30 years old, 31, 32, it catches up to you.
Totally catches
up to you. And then not to mention you put like a bunch of alcohol in the mix too, like drinking on days off or whatever. Like, it adds up fast.
Yeah. So talking about the, alcohol and things like that, I want to dive into, because I've heard you say some things in the past, and we've talked probably off camera, but let's dive into some of the stories of your past, maybe the more rowdy side, right? I mean, the red-headed Irish guy. Are you red-headed, or is it just the facial hair?
No, I have red hair too. It's not as bright as my facial hair. It's a little bit of a darker tone.
That facial hair is red, though.
Yeah,
that's legit.
Real red.
Nice. And I want to make something a disclaimer, but no brag. We're not bragging about some of the past history, but sometimes it's fun to talk about.
Yeah,
but at the same time,
it's life experience, man.
For sure.
And it's a big part of why I decided to change, because I finally decided. I woke up and was like, "What the fuck am I thinking? Like, I can't live like that and get anywhere positive. I can't get to any of the places I want to get to if those are the habits and the lifestyle that I'm leading."
Right.
But yeah, dude, started drinking, pretty early, like about 15. By 17, I had my first DUI. That was a fun one. Yeah, it was actually it was during like KC testing, which is like the California high school exit exam testing or whatever. And we were seniors. Yeah, we were seniors. So like we didn't have to go to school because the testing was more based off of like juniors. So we were partying at my buddy's house, playing beer pong in the garage, and he lived in an apartment complex. And his sister came home and brought us like a 30 rack of beer. Yeah. And she's like, "I'll give you the beer, but you have to give me your parking spot," because I was parked like right up front.
Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, all right, whatever.
Deal.
Yeah, 100% deal.
And so I pull out my truck and I'm like, instead of being like a normal fucking person and like 3-point turn and pull down, I'm just like, I'm gonna just back this motherfucker all the way up. So I'm like backing up down the hill, like it's had like this steep hill and like a roundabout at the bottom.
All right.
And there's like a parking spot at the bottom, and I'm backing up, and there's an island. And I didn't even feel like my back tire like hit the island, but I like felt like a dink, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? And I like pull forward, and it's like, whoosh, hit a fire hydrant.
Oh, no freaking way.
So the fucking fire hydrant tips, and there's like a 30-foot geyser, and I'm like, holy shit. And like, and I immediately.
So it is true. It's like the cartoons, and it does happen.
It does happen. And it happens pretty easily too.
Damn,
those things are under quite a bit of pressure. So if you hit it hard enough, especially with a vehicle, it'll go.
Yeah.
So yeah, 30-foot geyser. I'm like standing out of my truck like shit. And I just like hop in my truck and I take off.
Jet.
I just take off. And some fucking good fucking Samaritan runs out from behind me and gets my license plate number.
Yeah.
So I go like 3 blocks away, down like there's a gas station and a liquor store. And I parked my truck between like 2 vans so no one can find me. And then I'm like, well, I left my phone and my wallet at the house because I was just moving my truck.
Sure.
So I couldn't get a hold of anybody there. So I walk into AM/PM and I'm like, dude, can I get like 4 quarters to make a call? Like literally pay phone.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah. And I call my buddies and they're like, bro, what the fuck did you do? And I'm like, don't worry about it. Just come down to AM/PM and pick me up.
Yeah. I still got a case to pick up.
And they come down and pick me up and we're driving around. And then I told them to bring me my phone and my wallet. And they're like, dude, they're like, what did you do? I'm like, dude, I was backing up. I fucking must have tapped the fire hydrant, fucking geyser. I split. Like, I'm out. Like, fuck this. We ain't going back. And then I get a call from my dad. And then I'm like, what's up, Dad? And he's like, hey, Sheriff's Department's here and they're looking for you. What's going on? And I'm like, oh.
Are you sober?
No.
Okay.
No. And then, so I'm like, he's like, well, he wants to talk to you. I'm like, put him on the phone, I guess. But what's he going to do to me on the phone?
Yeah.
And then, he basically, oh, this is fucking Deputy so-and-so. Like, we just need you to come back to the scene and fill out an action report. No one's going to get in trouble. It's fucking whatever.
Yeah.
Make it sound like super copacetic. And I'm like, all right, fine. Like, I'll go back. First fucking mistake. Trust the police officer or the sheriff and go back. So I get back and I'm running the whole 21 questions bit and everything's fine. They didn't even like think twice to breathalyze me at that point in time. And then some douchebag like parking enforcement cop walks up with like just mean mugging me, and he's like, "Why are you chewing gum?" And I'm like, "Is that like a legit question?" Like,
yeah, it kind of popped back off.
And then he had me spit it out and then do a breathalyzer, and I blew like a 0.07, but I was like 17, so obviously, you know,
Done.
No limits. Got a DUI, got my license pulled, the whole fucking bit. So that was like part of, you know, senior year, basically.
Nice.
For the first kid or only.
What'd
kid
you
at my
catch? Just
school.
misdemeanors?
Yeah, just misdemeanors. Fortunately, nothing felony as far as that goes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, typical like bunch of fist fights on weekends. Like that was like our thing.
It's like the bar or like a house?
Houses, dude. I mean, this is before we could even go to the bars, bro. Like we would just
20 years old.
We would roll to house parties or other places that like we knew we weren't welcome.
For sure.
And we were just like, well, what the fuck are you going to do about it? And like, we had a kind of a different crew at that point in time. Like there was like a solid like 8 or 10 of us, and every single one of us would get down.
Yeah.
Whereas like we'd run into another group of guys, and maybe 1 or 2 of them would chuck up and throw.
For sure.
You know, so it was
like
a
solid crew.
We had a good group of dudes.
Just egging each other on in the negative way.
Oh, it was a recipe for disaster everywhere we went. We couldn't fucking go anywhere without getting in trouble, or getting some shit.
You're looking for it. I mean, all the time.
We were
restaurants.
We had, but there was like it was a funny dynamic in the crew. We had like the two like guys that were like the fucking pit bulls, right? They were always instigating shit, always barking, always causing trouble. Like the typical like, bro, that fool just called you a bitch.
Yeah,
that guy just called you a bitch. What are you gonna do? And he'd be like, what?
You know, he did what?
You know, and
just
then, like,
stirring the pot.
You know,
like
and instead of like legitimately thinking about it for 30 seconds, be like, dude, we've been through this like 35 times this month.
Say anything, yeah.
You know, and like, and then we'd get to mixing it up, and you know, whether it took 1 or 10, we'd usually win all 10. You know, but it was if you know our thing was like if one dude's throwing, we're all fucking throwing.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you only have 2 or 3 guys. If we're all here and we're all ready, you're getting it all.
Yeah, and you're old school enough. Like you had some like there was respect. We're talking fists here. We're not talking crazy shit.
We never fucking pulled
knives
or guns or anything.
That's old school.
That wasn't our shit.
Yeah.
And
handle your business.
That was just kind of how it went, dude. We just bopped around and got in fights and went to parties and got kicked out of a bunch of places, and it was it. It was part of life.
Destructive habits.
Getting drunk, getting in fights, chasing girls, you know.
It was the weekend. It's not the weeknight.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like that's
trying to live like a rock star.
That's what it was, dude.
Yeah,
and it was just, you know, it was fun. It was great, and it was a lot of interesting times, but you know, you continue those habits into like being an adult, and you're starting to like get into a very slippery slope.
For sure.
You know, so like
when did those click for you? Like Firefighter Time?
But right before then, like I was, you know, that late 20s.
When you had a kid too.
Late 20s, early 30s, like still being a knucklehead, still getting in fights, still getting thrown in jail for a weekend, you know, for some bullshit, you know. But yeah, I got lucky a couple times, man. Granted, there's 500,000 things I got away with scot fucking free. But there's 3 things that like I got hung up on, and fortunately it didn't fall the other way, because I would probably still be in prison. You know, like I had between the 3 things that I could have really, really got hung up on because I did get caught. I think cumulatively, like it would have been like 15 years.
What was it?
Some change. So the first one was, granted, like I got 2 DUIs. One was a little bit later, but like the actual stuff that was violence related, what we were talking about the last time I was with you at the bar, like fucking got into a scrap with some of the sheriffs because of, you know, my brother and this and that and some stupid bar fight that had nothing to do with either one of us, but just basically throwing down for family. Like that cop fucking was out of line, you know, choking my brother and slamming him on the hood, you know, and I still, you know, back what I did, but I would not do it now. You know, like
I feel you on that.
Looking back on it, you know what I mean? Because it was a lot of risk, no gain.
Right.
You know, and at that time it was just like, fuck it, I'm doing it. You know, so like going toe to toe with like 6 or 7 sheriff's deputies to get to one that had his hands wrapped around my brother's neck. Like I just saw red, dude. Like there was no rhyme or reason. It was just fucking
protect
kill.
my family member.
You know, like go.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was fortunately that went the other way, because there was like some cell phone video, like some of the clips that I stuck together, and the DA, you know, decided it was like a bit of a abuse of power, and basically, you know, they were trying to get 10 years apiece for me and my brother for that
Good
bullshit.
Lord. State of California?
Yeah, 10 years apiece, and then fortunately, you know, after bringing some some cell phone video into the courtroom on a flash drive. It went from 10 years apiece to informal probation and community service.
Wow.
Like that.
Because they saw exactly what you
They
had
saw,
seen.
because, well, dude, those fuckers, dude, I mean, it is what it is at this point, but I was sitting in the squad car handcuffed, and they fucking basically all formulated on the trunk.
Sure.
And they were drafting up a plan. Like, okay, so this is what happened. This is that they fucking, and I could hear them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I'm like, that's
so they're just coming up
bullshit,
with this. Damn,
bro.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
So like the entire police report, like everything that was like basically legally documented was almost forged.
Right.
You know, like it was not, they made us sound like we were straight up fucking gangbangers, like out there trying to go toe to toe with the cops for no good reason.
Right.
And that was like not the case at all. But fortunately that got overturned, you know, and then go another couple years, picked up my second DUI from wadding up my Harley on the 5 freeway. And then even a little bit more, you know, we were at a bar in Atascadero, had no business being out that inebriated, that fucked up. We went to a concert before. We were already back home, like in a safe place, and then decided to go back out into public. Bad idea right there.
It's never a good idea.
A buddy of mine that was with me had some shit with this other guy that happened to be at the bar. And I had no idea who this guy was, but I figured it out through what he was telling me, like through the story. And I'm like, you're that motherfucker, ain't you? And I'm like, hey, come outside with me real quick. And basically like baited him outside.
Yeah.
Because I knew my buddy was outside. I'm like, hey, bro, isn't that fool you were telling me about? Isn't that guy you got?
Is this him right here?
Yeah, you had problems with? Yeah, that's him. I'm like, fucking handle it, bro. Like, fucking handle it. Like, you talk about all this shit when we're at my house, fucking do something
how
about
this guy's
it.
here,
I got you. Like, now handle it. And like, they fucking, you know, he jumps over the railing, and instead of like that dude just being like, hey, my bad, dude, I was just popping off at the mouth, whatever, he's like, you're a fucking bitch. And my buddy just fucking laced him up, knocked him out fucking cold.
One hit wonder, huh?
Yeah, just dropped him right in there in the parking lot. And I was like, dope, that was it. That's all we needed to do.
Yeah.
And then, but my dumbass, like, and this, I know this is on camera, but
this was like 10 years ago, so don't worry.
Yeah, this is a while back. So this guy's beef with my buddy had cost him money through losing jobs and stuff like that and getting run off of job sites. So I pulled his pocket. I pulled all the fucking money out of his pocket. Pulled like $1,500. And I was like, dope, this is ours now. Like, you want to be a bitch, you want to run your mouth, you want to cause problems on the job site and basically cost my buddy, this just costs you.
Sure.
You know? And went back, we basically split the cash, whatever, and so we thought we were scot-free, right? Like, there were no cameras out back, nobody fucking saw it happen. Like, there was not a single fucking witness, you know? And then 5 days later, I'm in the auto shop doing my thing, and I get fucking run up on by like 4 PD with fucking guns drawn and everything.
Damn.
Like, they fucking took that shit like super seriously. And they haul me out in handcuffs. They take me down to the station. They're interrogating me. They say they have like,
He filed a report.
well, that's the thing is like someone came out in the parking lot, found an old boy, knocked the fuck out, like bleeding, and called the ambulance, called the fire, you know, the whole bit. And he was so out of it, I guess, that he said he got jumped by 4 guys. And
He got hit pretty hard.
yeah, so he was fucking out. And like, so then they're trying to piece it all back together. So this is where I got caught, is they caught me on camera walking out and then walking back in.
So just the times.
Just the timing. So that was it. Because I basically like, business got handled.
Yeah.
And then I walked back in, I closed out my tab, and we left.
Yeah.
Like, they ain't even worried about it. Like, it's not like we just did the thing and then split like some dumbass kids. Like, we just went about our night. And then, so they're fucking saying, we got you on footage. We got this and that. We know you were there. We know you did it. And I'm just like thinking in my head, I'm like, there's no fucking way. You're just making all this shit up. Like, just by the way you're saying it right now, like, I know that it doesn't add up because that's not even what happened.
Right.
Like, and I was there, you know, and so I just kept my mouth shut, and they were threatening me with like 5 to 7. You know, I had like, you know, assault with great bodily injury, you know, robbery, you know, conspiracy to commit a crime. Like, they're like same as always, trying to stack a bunch of shit on me.
Sure.
And I get thrown in San Luis Obispo County Jail, which is like a fucking cakewalk compared to Orange County Jail. You know, like, it was like the weirdest fucking thing ever. I got taken into a dorm.
Oh, wow.
There was like no politics. Like, I literally got like briefed with like the shot caller for the whites. And he's like, yeah, there's no politics in here, which basically means they don't do any of the racism shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what kind of jail is this?
It's just county, but still.
You know, I'm like, all right, fine. You know, and like I was there for 2 or 3 days and just kept to myself. And then I was trying to get bail because I knew if they got their hands on my buddy, it was fucked. It was going to be over because he had never really been in trouble. So he doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut, play his fucking cards. And I was like, I need to get bailed out and get my hands on kid, you know, and tell him what the fuck is up before they get him.
Oh, nice.
You know, and that was basically what happened is like I called my chick. I had my chick basically, I called her when I was getting questioned, right? Because at the time I had like a bunch of illegal firearms. And at the time, I basically was like, hey, are you home? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm getting arrested for X, Y, and Z. You need to get the dogs out of the house.
Yeah.
And she knew what that meant. Like, go take the dogs for a walk. And that meant, like, basically take the guns and all the cash and get it out of the fucking house. Because if they come and search the house, they're going to find a bunch of shit. And this is going to get way worse than it needs to get. She did that, handled that for me. And that was, like, fucking, like, all right, you're a keeper.
Solid.
You know, and then, so I'm, you know, and then I'm thinking, I'm sitting and holding, and I'm like, fuck, I need to get the fuck out of here. Or this is the next chain of events that's going to happen. They're going to fucking get kid. They're going to pressure him. He's going to crack because he's never really been in trouble. And then this whole thing that we think it might happen is going to come to life really fast.
Yeah.
You know, and I had been in trouble before. I'd been on probation. I'd been in jail. So it's like, how quickly is that 3 to 5 going to turn into like 10 to 12 when they start stacking shit up? You know what I mean? They're like, this dude's got fucking 2 DUIs, has been arrested for fucking shit with the fucking law enforcement. Like, they basically just look at me like a rabid dog at that point and just like, lock him up. You know? So I'm like, I need to get the fuck out. Like, so fortunately my mom posted bail for me and I got out and I went and got a burner phone from Walmart because they took my phone. They basically held it as evidence because they thought we had pre-planned that whole thing. That was like their whole conspiracy that like,
which would have made it way worse.
Yeah, way worse. Because there was no intent, there was no plan. It just happened, and so basically get a hold of him on the burner, and I'm like, hey, meet me out at homie's property, which is like way the fuck out in the sticks. You know, don't bring your phone, nothing. Like, and so we were sitting out there, and I'm like, look, they're looking for you. They're trying to find you, but they don't know where the fuck you're at.
Right.
But they're gonna find you, and they're gonna arrest you. And they're going to pressure you, but they don't have anything. So don't give them anything. Right. You know, like, don't say shit. Don't say fucking nothing.
Nothing.
Because right now they think that I did everything. You know, they think that I hit them and this and that. And that's how stupid I know they are because I didn't even touch the guy until the very end. Right. You know, and then, so shit happens. They get him he gets picked up, thrown in jail. He's in there for like a day. Dad bails him out. And then we're in and out of court for the next 3 or 4 months. So long story short, they ended up not having enough evidence, tossed the case. Gotcha. So we're like, fuck yeah, get out.
So you guys got out scot-free.
Well, yeah, and that's just a prime example of keep your fucking mouth shut. You know, like if you know, you know, and you don't need to tell anybody else. You know, like that's just it.
Yeah. And at this point in your life where you having like epiphanies, like this probably isn't the best route.
Yeah. No, it was after that because I basically, you know, I'd gotten pretty lucky with a couple things. You know, I'd walked away from a couple serious motorcycle accidents. I'd gotten off that 10-year hook on that previous thing. I just walked away from that 3 to 5 for that bullshit, you know? So it was like starting to like, okay, like I can only get lucky so many fucking times.
Keep rolling the dice.
Before shit is not going to just work in my favor.
Yeah.
anymore.
And it's going to stack hard.
You know, and then it was basically, I think the final thing, I mean, granted, there was like 500,000 things in between, but the final straw was, I got into a scrap at our local bar out in Creston, which is like cowboy town, and with some dude that, I mean, he was just being the typical drunk asshole,
drunken cowboy,
all
asshole.
Over. He wasn't even no cowboy, dude. He was just he was from town, and he was like a sloppy fucking mess and being an asshole, and you know, and not that I'm like a cowboy either, like I'm not some fucking ranch hand, but the guys at the bar knew who I was and knew how I lived. And they're like, you know, hey, like if this dude starts really getting out of line, can you help us? I'm like, fuck yeah, I got you, you know. And he started getting out of line. So I like brought him outside, and I didn't even bring him outside to fight him. I just was trying to separate him from everybody. And I'm like, you know, lit up a smoke, and we're just talking, bullshitting. And then he just fucking blindsides me.
Just cold cocks.
Just blindsides me. And I'm like, bro, are you fucking serious right now? He's like, you brought me out here to fight me, didn't you? I'm like, no, but now I'm going to.
Now we are.
Now it's fucking game on. So we square up in the road and fucking whooped his ass. And his kid tried to get in on me, so I...
Damn, how old is his kid?
I think he was like... I hope he was 18.
How old are you at this time? You're mid-20s?
8.
Okay.
28, 29. I mean, I don't know if he was technically a man, but I hit him like one.
he come up to you, started swinging.
Well, he tried to blindside me when I had his dad full mounted, which I don't blame him, but you ain't going to get that on me.
Yeah.
And then, handled him and, just basically walked it off. Like they got drug into a vehicle and left, and everybody that was like from the bar and from the town was like stoked and like that's it. Come inside, have a drink, dust yourself off. We're like out in the sticks. Like no one's calling the sheriff unless they think it's bad enough, and I don't think anybody did. But that was kind of the final straw for me, because I'm like, dude, if that dude wanted to press charges, it would be so easy.
With all the shit you had stacked up or potentially.
And I know I fucked him up, dude, because we went at it, and I got him in full mount, and I probably laid like 8 or 9 solid into him. And I'm pretty sure I broke his fucking kid's jaw, because my buddy had a video of it, and just the sound it made when I hit him, I'm like, yeah, his jaw's fucking broke.
Damn.
Like, broke. It sounded like someone throw a slab of meat against a big piece of glass, like just that crack, that's, I'm like, that's bone. Like that's what it sounds like when bone breaks.
Yeah.
And fortunately nothing really became of that, but that was like kind of like, okay, this needs to stop. Like this is getting a little out of hand. Like, for sure. I'm 30 years old, I'm still living like I'm 16, like I have a fucking kid, like I'm trying to like make this life. And, fortunately, like I said, I never got rolled super heavy on the stuff that I did. And unfortunately, the stuff that I did that was much worse, I never got caught. But it was like, I can only get lucky so many fucking times.
Sure.
And that's kind of one of the big things that drew me to the fire department, is because I knew that person, that version of me couldn't exist in that world.
For sure.
So it made me commit to a discipline and structured format, like you said, the paramilitary attitude, yes sir, no sir, a regimented, structured discipline.
Which I feel we need, like people like
Totally,
guys and men, and with aggression and the things we're talking about and how you and I were when we were young, and still probably are, but like we need that. We need that kind of organization. It was totally. The Marine Corps was that for me,
And that's the thing, dude, is like for the longest time when I was younger, like I pushed away on structure and discipline and format so much.
Anti-authority.
So much. Anti-authority, dude. Fuck everybody. Fuck everything. And then like as I got older, I'm like, I need this shit. Like True. I fucking need this shit.
From the right people,
right?
Right.
Yeah. I need it from the right people. I don't need discipline from prison politics.
Right. No shit.
I need discipline from these motherfuckers on the outside that I want to live like and learn to be like.
Right.
And, fortunately I kind of made it work, man. I was able to step out of that whole lifestyle and mindset and mentality, and
did the fire department interview you when you go through some of these scenarios and you're like, dude, because they're looking at your paperwork, right? Like poly test and everything. Like,
I never had to do a poly test.
That's good.
Dude, but
if you get on a bigger place, they would have?
They were, it's still a thing with some bigger departments, but yeah, but I did have to answer for some of it. They're like, well, what's up with this DUI? What's up with this arrest? What's up with all this?
Sure.
And it already don't look good. Like,
right.
I should show up like this,
sure.
And then I'm like, fucking please hire me.
Yeah. I'll work really hard.
Please fucking hire me. I swear to God, I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
But
cheap talk, son.
I got my shot, fortunately, and Cal Fire is a different animal because the state of California and how fucking liberal it is. They basically removed a lot of that process, So that's kind of like a shoe-in for people who, quote unquote, used to be a fuck up and then still want to turn background. Around.
Yeah.
But other departments not so much.
What advice would you give a younger version of yourself now to where you are now? Like if someone's watching this, they're like, yeah, that's me yesterday, or that's me a couple months ago, or I'm on the potential verge of going through that same problem, or
dude,
I could get hemmed up.
Find a positive mentor and latch onto them, because that's what I didn't have. I didn't have, obviously my dad was a positive male influence, but I didn't look at him like that. Because
he's your dad.
Yeah,
He's
he's my dad.
right?
But I mean, like the older guys that I looked up to were all gangbangers, roughnecks, drug dealers. Like they were the dudes that you don't necessarily want to be.
Yeah, you don't.
You know, and that's what I want. That's what I want. Like these guys fucking, they have money, they do whatever they want. Like no one fucks
They live
with
their
them.
life. Yeah.
Like, you know, they get all the chicks. I'm like, I want that.
And it's glorified
you know,
too, right?
Oh, it's super glorified, bro. Like, but that's the thing is like, we just need to like stop glorifying it because it's not any way to live, you know. And those people that have the, you know, the experience in the life where they can kind of step into it and fortunately step out, good on you. But you need to be vocal about that experience and help some of these young men like make that same decision at an earlier stage, because there's a lot of young motherfuckers out there that are drawn in by all of those things at a young age. They do something stupid and then their whole life's over, you know? And if you could basically have that step, that intervention and save them that heartache and that cost, you know, being like, hey bro, I know you probably don't want to hear this right now, but this is not the life you want to live.
Yeah, that's not the version of hard or tough that we want to, you know, that you think that, but that's not the version.
And that's the thing is like, as I've grown, like the things that like in my mind that are hard, that are solid, that make you a stand-up motherfucker is like being there for your family, learning how to control your temper, you know, obviously being a man that's capable of danger and destruction, but knowing how to control it.
Absolutely.
You know, but practicing that level of discipline of not letting just any punk ass motherfucker like get your goat. You know what I mean? Like knowing where and when to be dangerous.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And like I live dangerously in a much different way now. Like my idea is like I am a dangerous individual because I operate at an elite level. You know, I want to learn and I want to execute like to a finite degree, to a point where I don't have to take orders or do anything or listen to anybody else. Like I am 100% on my own fucking gameplay. Yep. And that's what makes me dangerous, because I seek people that have what I want. And I now, instead of trying to take it from them, you know, now I want to learn from them.
Right.
You know, and I think that's what's hard. That's what's commendable, is being a stand-up individual, taking care of your family, and having a level of discipline and consistency that's respectable.
For sure. So when was Reliant Fitness born?
Reliant Fitness was born basically August of 2022.
Firefighter.
I was a firefighter. I was like, fitness was a big part of my life.
Life's changed already.
Yeah. I was like, you know, I was still drinking, but I wasn't like doing the whole knucklehead bit, like having beers on days off and stuff like that. But my daughter was on the way, like was about to be born. And that was like kind of another big transitional thing, is like having a little girl. You know, like, okay, well, I'm not necessarily a man that I would want like my daughter to be around or date.
Point,
so
man.
like I need to kind of create that individual. And I kind of just latched on to the fitness thing, man, because it always been a big part of my life. Like working out, being an athlete, you know, even when I was in college, I was studying kinesiology and exercise science. Like it was like my focus,
right?
You know? So I kind of just reverted back to it, you know, and finding a way to basically execute it in my own daily life in a practical manner, and then also use it as a structure, you know, like something to keep me on track, you know, and then obviously learning how to turn it almost into a business.
Right.
You know, so basically Reliant Fitness was born at the fire station in August 2022. You know, basically made an Instagram, didn't even know what the fuck I was going to do with it yet. Like started posting some like workout content, started seeing like the whole online coach thing started getting prevalent. And I'm like, fuck, I could do this. I'm going to take a shot at it.
Sure.
You know, and basically went for it. And, you know, teamed up with Wes Watson, you know, got schooled up on basically how he runs his operation, and, you know, took a lot of things from it and learned a lot of like what I don't want to do, and kind of molded up everything that you see today. You know, the structure, the workouts, what I offer my clients, you know, and everything. And it's been a fucking crazy process and you know, super rewarding, you know, because it's one thing to get people fit, but to basically help people overcome the same things that I overcame, like my problems with alcohol, like leaving that whole lifestyle in the past, and, you know, learning to quote unquote control my temper or be able to channel my energy in a more positive way, you know, and not only doing that for myself, but being able to help other people do that has been super fucking rad, You know, like seeing some of these guys, these men, these women that come through my program and they latch on to what I teach them and they show up to the calls and they really like embody the philosophy, you know, because that's what it is. It's a philosophy, it's a lifestyle, but it's like, you know, you get what you put into it. You know, if you really pour into it, dude, it'll change you. It'll change you 100%. You know, and these people pour into it. So they get the result. They get that mindset shift. They get that big physical breakthrough. And to be able to like continuously replicate that for multiple people is really cool and awesome. Super fun.
Yeah. So you start that out and then you move and start progressing and start progressing and start progressing. And you get to a point where you're like, dude, I'm just going to stop the firefighting stuff and go all in.
Yeah. Because I mean, in a perfect world at the time, and this was like last year, maybe a little more than a year ago, like I wanted to do both. You know, I was like, the coaching thing was basically initially to substitute some of the overtime I wasn't getting because the state started like over hiring firefighters. Like we basically lived off of overtime, you know, or getting the overtime from being out on assignment on fires and stuff. But when they over hire a bunch of firefighters, then everybody's fighting for overtime because straight pay was fucking garbage. You know, like what you would get on your normal time is like not really that much, especially someone who, you know, early 30s, one kid already there, another kid on the way, you know, full life of full bills and shit. So I was like, I need to add something to the equation. And this makes the most sense because I don't have to be anywhere at any particular time. It's online. You know, I can manage these people from basically my phone or my laptop. You know, it doesn't necessarily require an exponential amount of effort elsewhere.
Right.
You know,
and you can do it virtually, which is huge.
Yeah. So I leaned into it and, you know, got pretty good at it, dude.
Started humming along.
Yeah. And I kept plugging away at it, dude. Like it was like this, it became, you know, like a fixation, you know, like I was like, what else, you know, how can I make this better? How can I do this? How can I formulate that? And a lot of it was obviously from working with other coaches, like other people, like, okay, well, what didn't they give me? What didn't they provide that would have been really pivotal information?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
you took what you did like and you took what you didn't like and you combined it and formulated it into your own.
Yeah. And like, you know, and obviously developing a presence online was, you know, super, super rewarding in the process too, because that helps expand and grow the business and people who are looking at getting involved. But it's just, you know, it's same thing, you know, that level of dedication to self, you know, that I was practicing, that level of isolation. I basically was doing the same thing with the business. Like, yeah. And it got to a point where I could no longer do both. I couldn't do fire and I couldn't do coaching because the business grew at such a rapid rate. Like taking those days where I was on duty and being like, dude, I'm on duty for the next 3 days, you know, possibly the next 4 or 5 days. Wow. You know, like I can't tend to that. I can't do that. I can't make consultation calls. I can't check in with clients.
No, because you're working your firefighting job.
Right. You know, and at a point in time that was doable because I had a small client base and they understood. They're like, oh, it's cool. Like, go to work, do your thing. You know, but when I was growing the business.
Do you remember about how many clients that was where it was like, this is capacity?
I want to say, well, for managing both,
yeah,
I would think I was probably at like, I want to say I was around like 70 clients maybe.
Wow.
And yeah, doing both was getting really difficult. And then the idea, because I was like getting hit with like the promotional opportunity, like promoting to an engineer, so a company officer or a full-time firefighter, you know, and having to go through another academy training scenario that was anywhere between 7 weeks and 14 weeks. And then not to mention, like if I stayed on as a seasonal, getting punched out of county on assignment for fires that could be weeks.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, dude, and all of those things in my mind were like, that's going to kill my fucking business. Like, that's going to kill my business. Like, I built up so much momentum and so much growth, and there was really no sign of it slowing down or tapering off. So I'm like, I'm going to ride this.
It's time to go all in.
I'm going to ride this. You know, and it basically took somebody to be like, yo, bro, like, how much money did you make on your own business this last month? And I think this was like April last year. And I'm like, well, I just made like $36,000 this month. And they're like, what do you make at CAL FIRE? And I'm like, $5,000, maybe $6,000 if I get enough overtime. And they're like,
Yeah, and you're working a ton of hours.
What the fuck are you doing there? And I'm like, yeah, I guess you got a point. You know,
it's taking away from your business at this point.
Totally. And then like literally as soon as I stepped away from Cal Fire, like willingly, like I left on my own terms, I left on good terms. I started like doubling that amount, you know, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 months on a regular basis, you know, so freeing up that time and that mental capacity and basically just focusing 100% on the business was a good move. You know what I mean? And I still have a really good relation with all the guys that I work with. I still run into a handful of the captains and the battalion chiefs that I was like tied with, you know, and they're like, "Hey, man, how's business? How are things, dude? Like, what's up?" And I'm like, "Things are good, bro." And they're like, "You ever think you'll come back?" And I'm like, "Probably not. Probably not.
Nah.
Unless you guys are willing to pay me like 80 to 90K a month." I don't think it's gonna happen.
That ain't happening.
You know?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, and that's the thing though, is like, they know, you know, that I had good intentions. I worked really hard when I was there. And I don't have any bad blood, you know, especially towards the guys that I worked with. It's more so towards the department.
Gotcha.
And it's just the overall aspect of how like I was saying earlier, they've basically now created an environment where they don't award excellency and they don't condemn complacency. So it's very stagnant. Yeah. There's no reason for people to go out and perform and be top tier individuals. You know, like you know, people who go out and get additional certs or additional training or anything like, you know, they're treated the same as someone who has none of it. Mm-hmm. They're paid the same that has none of it, you know, and that was something that was hard for me to swallow because I busted my ass to get there. I went through all the training. I got all the certifications. I put in all the fucking hours. And then to basically see these kids walk in with none of that. And we're basically treated the same and we're paid the same. And I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, I put everything into this job, you know, even my days off, I'm prepping for my days on, you know what I mean? Like, as far as physically and stuff like that, like, and these kids are, you know, I mean, granted, they're kids, fuck them. They're partying, they're spending their 4 days doing what kids do. But it's like, you can't treat us the same. You can't pay us the same. True. Because someone's giving 100% and someone's bringing like 20%. You know, but that's the environment they've created. And so they've basically, like I said, they don't award excellency and they don't condemn complacency. And I was like, that's not a place for me, because I'm so focused on growth right now. Like, I'm so focused on pushing, like, and I'm, you know, in that department pushing hard and trying to do that. Like, it's really good, like it's needed, but at the same time, they almost like try to dim your light a little bit. You know, like they'll put you, like, okay, cool. Well, here's a promotion. You know, do this, and that, and then you're basically just somebody else's bitch. You know what I mean? Like,
sit back on the shelf.
Yeah. You know, and I'm like, I'm good. Like, I got something good going here. I'm gonna take a shot at it and see how it goes. And it's been going really well, man. So
what's next? Like, what's next for Brad and Reliant Fitness and
another kid on the horizon. So I got another son coming in September.
Awesome.
You know, getting some merchandise rolling, pumping. So just exploring other avenues, man. I mean,
growing the business, growing the brand,
growing the business and the brand in any and all areas that I can. You know, basically taking a bunch, you know, risks. You know, trying to acquire property, you know, and get in on the real estate game and actually have, you know, some real, you know, valuable and viable assets versus just like depreciating toys. You know, everybody loves toys. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I love
but
cars.
you still have to pay for the toys, and then they go down in value. And
I love cars, trucks, motorcycles, whatever.
Yeah,
me too. I mean, like, I want to get shit that I can like leave my kids. It's basically, you know, at this point, long term, like building that generational wealth, like making it something that like my kids can obviously have to develop a work ethic, but it's like, you know, you're taken care of.
Yeah.
You know, like something I can pass on or at least give them the opportunity to start thinking like an entrepreneur and not an employee from a young age.
That makes sense. That's what I do. I love it. I love teaching my kids the same thing. I mean, that's what's super important, because once you open up those mental blocks or those glass ceilings, you know, you want to help your kid jumpstart that, because that's what's going to keep them fed forever, right?
Yeah. Yeah, cool, totally. And that's kind of the goal, man, is just be more present in the household and continue to lead and do what I do.
Hell yeah.
And learn, dude. I mean, I'm constantly seeking out, you know, new mentors or coaches for myself. It's never it's never over. You know what I mean? You never know it all. And there's a bunch of people who like spark my interest and like, get me jazzed, or I like their philosophy when it comes to fitness or nutrition and trying to train. Cause that's the thing that I mean, the learning aspect, is like, okay, well, what do I need to learn that I could like continue to better my service and what I offer to my clients?
And that's addicting, right? Like once you get this information, you know how to apply it, you accomplish it, or you start the process and you start to see tangible results. That's forever addicting in everything I've ever done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and then like you said it perfectly. Once you start to see the results of it, that's the part where you're like, ooh, okay, game on. Game on. For sure.
Well, where can people find you on social media?
So my powerhouse platform is Instagram, reliant.fitness, reliant.fitness on YouTube, and reliant.fit on TikTok.
Awesome. Hell yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you being on this podcast. I think we dropped some awesome game, had a good conversation. Another workout video was where we created right before this podcast. You guys have to check that out too. Good content there as well.
Hell yeah.